Well, the problem is they're gonna die.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like,
Did you almost hit?
yeah, because you come out of your driveway and then
I wanted to get one for his,
Lots of tread.
but Ange said no. So, yes.
I'll call the June 15th city council meeting to order. Roll call.
Ashley Allers, Abby Hansen. Here. John Hawkins, John Marble,
Here.
Megan McFarland.
Here. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
1, petitions, communications, and requests. This is a time of the meeting that a citizen may address the council on a matter not on the agenda, no more than 5 minutes per person. Except in cases of emergency, the city council will not take any action at this meeting, but may ask the city staff to research the matter or have the matter placed on the agenda for a future meeting. Any public information?
Please.
Yep. You want to come up?
Am I correct in that we have
Oh, could you give us your name and where you live, please?
Linda Philbrook, Southfield Drive?
Hi.
How many current police officers do we have?
14,
14?
13.
13.
Yep.
Is there any point in time where all 12 officers are on duty at the same time?
Don't believe so.
Why does each one have a new vehicle? Why can't they shift to shift, share the same vehicle?
They do.
They do.
They do.
I know that for a fact.
So how many police cars do we have?
I can confirm. I need to offhand. I have to get back to you on that information, but it's not 12. It's not even close to that.
Is there an issue that you're just curious what?
Yes, there's an issue for me. In that I think we're investing a lot of money in police vehicles. We don't have one that is even 10 years old before you trade it in.
Our current policy is 10 years or 100,000 miles for emergency vehicles. That's our standard replacement. The police have replaced at least one a year for the past 3 years. And they did replace 2 in 1 year.
And what is the total cost to date of all those vehicles?
Well, the last car was roughly 75,000 all in purchase and equipment.
Any else?
But I will confirm with the council how many police cruisers we do have this week.
Thank you. 2 is the consent agenda. The following items have been deemed to be non-controversial routine actions to be approved by the council on a single motion. If a council member or a member of the audience wishes to have an item removed from this list, it will be considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. A, the minutes of June 1st meeting. B, claims and fund list. C, report for wastewater, electric and water. D is a police report for May. E is fire report for May. F is inspections reports for January, February, March, April, and May. G is recommended approval for issuance of beer and liquor licenses by the Iowa Department of Commerce for the following. Approve a new Class C retail alcohol license for Del Monte 3 LLC at 615 2nd Street. Approve renewal of a Class E retail alcohol license for Yesway number 1018 at 1803 Superior Street. Approval approve a renewal for Class E retail alcohol license for Yes Way number 1021 at 1102 Second Street. Approve renewal for special Class C retail alcohol license for Leon's Pizza, 643 Second Street. Approve renewal for Class C retail alcohol license for Lamitas, 500 Second Street.
Move to approve collectively.
Second.
Wait, I think there's two below it. H is a resolution authorizing issuance of cigarette, tobacco, nicotine vapor device retailer permits for the year of 2026 and 2027. And then I is a resolution to authorize and execute fire protection services agreement between the city of Webster City, Iowa and the Freedom Township, Hamilton County, Iowa.
Move to approve collectively.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
General agenda. A, second reading of an ordinance providing for the division of taxes levied on taxable property in the June 2026 addition to the Webster City Riverview Urban Renewal Area pursuant to section 403.19 of the Iowa Code.
Good evening, council. This item is the second consideration of the ordinance for the division of the taxes levied. This ordinance formally establishes the TIF district for the newly added properties, which include 1804 Tassler Drive, 1511, 1603, and 1611 East Second Street. And it functions as the essential legal teeth required under Iowa code to execute the tax division on these specific parcels following the physical TIF boundary expansion, which was approved on June 1st. The first reading of this ordinance was also approved on June 1st, and adopting this ordinance carries no immediate operational costs to the city. Base taxes will continue flowing to the appropriate jurisdictions, the county and school, as they always have. But any future tax revenues generated by new development or expansions on these specific lots will be captured into a city fund. And those funds will be used for economic development incentives and low to moderate income housing initiatives within the urban renewal corridor. So tonight, staff is just requesting approval of the second reading, waiving the third reading, and passing and adopting of the ordinance.
Motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to motion to waive the third reading.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Like to pass and adopt ordinance. Move to approve it.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 A1 is a public hearing on the proposed development agreement with Edible Garden Prairie Hills LLC.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I gave an overview of the agreement at our last meeting. Substantially, the terms have not changed. The company did request in between this meeting and last meeting that the substantial completion date be moved from December 30th of 28 to June 30th of 29. I'm sorry,
No. it was-
June 30th of 28 instead of December of 27. Thank you. So that was the one change that they had requested. So it was just a 6 months extension. And that was just based on tying all the loose ends together. They're being overly cautious. So that was the one change from that agreement that I believe they requested.
So loose ends meaning just they've figured some things out that they've seen since they're
No, yeah, that was a poor term. I would say they are just they're probably being hyper conservative and not wanting to in any way become in violation of the terms of the agreement. And so they requested 6 months more to ensure that they had enough time in their minds to agree to it in the development agreement. I think it was made in good faith in an effort to avoid any conflict in the future.
And we're looking at the same timeline though, beyond that,
For
getting underway and everything where they're at, acquiring the property.
Yeah, so the same timeline for acquiring the timeline for them acquiring the property did not change. They have till just 2029,
Yeah.
June 30th. 2029. And they, that there was no change there. Nothing to the, project that they're going to be completed, changed there. It was really the completion date of the construction project of the 25 million.
We'll open the hearing. Any written objections?
No.
Any oral objections? Close the hearing. A resolution approving the development agreement with Edible Garden Prairie Hills LLC, authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement. Motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. B is a public hearing to amend the fiscal year 26 budget. I'll open the hearing. Any written objections?
No.
Any oral objections? Close the hearing. Jody?
Good evening. So, this year we do have quite a few amendments. Reason being, in the past, we have received, findings in our audit that we should have amended when we did not. Oftentimes, we have the accrual entries at the end of the year. We're not really working on those year-end entries in May and June. So sometimes it's unforeseen. So I think I was probably a little trying to take the precautionary road here. So the revenue side is if we think that we're going to receive less than budget on revenue, ask for an amendment. So the taxes levied on property, it was a very minimal, but anything would cause the amendment. So we're reducing that by a little over 23,000. Other city taxes, 28,720. The main reason at the time was the sales tax receipts. The other taxes that are included in this category are the mobile home, utility tax replacement, and hotel motel. So the local option tax is a month behind. Hotel motel is 2 months behind on when we would actually have the receipts. So it would be several months before we would know what that revenue would be. So the intergovernmental, this one is a bit confusing. So on the total amendment is quite large. It's 1.9 million. There's 4 different items within that category causing this amendment. The road use, after when this was prepared, it did not look like road use was going to meet the 1.1 million that we had budgeted. However, I do think that after we've gotten the last 2 payments, I do think we will. So that was probably unneeded, but it's not going to matter if we amend and didn't need it. It is the other way around. Airport grants, we do drawdowns on airport grants. So if the work hasn't been completed, then we cannot draw down. And most of the projects are the actual construction part of the airport will be after June 30th. State grants for capital, that was I think.
Jody, that in the airport is both federal and state grants?
Yes, but majority is federal.
Federal,
Yes.
right.
The state grants for the capital, this was the DOT, is it Steph? Is that how it was the Beach Street concrete project? And that was based on the actual cost. So our actual cost was lower than we had anticipated, therefore the reimbursement is lower as well. And then the last one was it was an error on our end. We when filling out the state budget form, we put a Corn Belt reimbursement into the intergovernmental, which clearly it's not intergovernmental and it should have been in miscellaneous. So I'm also amending the miscellaneous just to offset because it is such a big amount. Now, that is just an entry only. That is the shared revenue bond with Corn Belt, and Corn Belt actually makes those payments. But we still record the in and out, even though it's really not being paid by the city and reimbursed.
So when I look at the 3.1 million number on miscellaneous, I kind of, that's not really.
Part of the 3.1 million, the one. I can't remember, 1,663,000 of that is actually this reimbursement from Corn Belt entry. So the charges for services, we did ask to reduce that. It looked like the water and sewer sales were going to be a little shy of what was budgeted. I did look through that again today, and I do think that the sewer, it will meet the budget amount. I still think the water will be a little short, so I still think it'll be about. I mean, and it's hard to say. I mean, each month's different, depends on how much people water fill pools, whatnot. In June is a bigger month, but right now I'm guessing we're still going to be short about 279,000 on the water. In the miscellaneous, now this one is odd that I'm actually asking to increase, which is not something that I would typically do. It's because it's such a large amount and I wanted to offset that error that I just talked about. So,
Can I just want to clarify
yes,
that some of that water reduction has to do with the change in the metering at the water plant that we talked about during the budget, right?
correct.
Yeah, with the master
But
metering.
still-
So it's not that our estimate was taking a little bit of, it's not that our estimate was off, it's that we changed the way that the master meter with the water utility was paying for a portion of the water and then a portion of the sewer. When that changed the revenue lines, but in the water and sewer utility, at least in the water utility, it was an in and an out. And then
Correct.
you addressed that the sewer utility wasn't going to be short. So.
Yep. Okay, so on the miscellaneous, we also did not include on the state budget form the electric projects that were being shared with Corn Belt, Reisner substation and the 69 kV transmission. So that was a lot of revenue coming in, being reimbursed. So that's why it is such a large amount. The transfers in, transfers out, let's match. So the main reason for this is the transfers out. So I'll wait and talk about that in a second. Health and social services, I know it's very minimal, but again, $1,000 could cause the amendment. So I'm just guessing maybe that the mosquito spraying cost will be a little bit more than we anticipated. Culture and recreation, the East Twin Park shelter was not included as a capital project on the state form. But I mean, the revenues are there to offset it. It's just that it's still going to hit an expense account, and that's all the auditors are going to care. They're not going to care that we have the money somewhere else.
So you're clarifying where it's going.
That it's just that this is where we're spending it. So if we spend more than we say we're going to, you have to have the amendment. So we do have the revenues. Brianne had given a very detailed plan of the different areas that she was going to have the revenues from. It's just that it did not get included on the state budget form. That's why. And then in this category, we have had a little bit higher utilities in Fuller Hall and the outdoor pool. And she did have some costly mower repairs that were unforeseen and not budgeted for. Community and economic development, this one is rather large too. This was the downtown revitalization program that was just approved by council not that long ago. If we would actually spend the money prior to June 30th, I do not know if we will or not. I want to be on the safe side and say we are. So, and as you know, the revenue to offset that will be through the tip that Ariel was just talking about. We will have to do an internal loan, so it won't be an immediate payback, but we do have a plan. And then also the expenses related to the certified site certification project was not budgeted. The general government.
John, do you remember the number on that?
Which one are you asking
The
about?
site certification project?
Which heading is it under? Does it say?
It's community economic development. It's what we paid for the site, certified site project.
So in my memo, I just tried to catch up here. It says community economic development, we need to amend by 1.1 million for the certified site. Well, the certified site project was approximately 220,000, of which over 100 and some thousand was gathered in grants from other folks. I suspect that the bulk of that amendment for the community economic development is associated with the funding that the council set aside for the Riverview TIF.
Right.
And we've received, I believe, most of the grants for the certified site. Those funds to fund that project came out of the Economic Development Fund. That fund was created a few years ago with reserves that had been allocated in other funds, but really not dedicated to economic development. So we have sufficient funds to complete that and continue the work in that fund. Believe Doty's simply dotting i's and crossing t's for the budget.
Yeah, no, I think it's totally worth it. I was
Yeah.
curious, and we didn't budget for it, correct? And so
Well,
where that number was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's down the road, it's worth it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so the general government did put in for a small amendment on that one. However, when I was reviewing this again earlier today, I do not think that one will be needed either. The debt service category, we did have some expenses for the 2025 GO bond that we did not budget, which would include the first interest payment, the bond rating fees, PFM, financial advisor, and legal that are involved in bonding. Capital projects increasing by 1.3, and the accrual entries are really big in the capital project. So in case that we have a lot more work accomplished before June 30th than we budgeted for, I'm just asking to amend that as well. The business type enterprises, so I'm increasing this one by 5 million, which part of that is going to be offset by that reimbursement on the miscellaneous for those two electric projects. Once we secured funding for the water and electric projects through those revenue bonds, we talked about it. We had everything was approved by council, but we no longer do the summary sheets that we provide. You know how each fund that we provide you at the time of the budget workshop, we have taken care of how we're going to fund that. We will show the payments for the bond payments, but not the revenue. So that's why it was not included. There was different funds that were made up to specifically identify those. And they were not included on the state budget form, but it will show as an expense. And then the transfers out, just the main reason was the closing out of that Fairmeadow 1 and City Hall HVAC project that I talked about, I don't know, several months ago. And that was not budgeted, but just wanted to get those closed out if I could. So we do have the transfers. So I know there's quite a few. I just keep in mind that I'm trying to be on the safe side. If we amend and did not need it, there is not a finding, however, if there is, if it's the other way around. Any questions?
Thank you.
Motion to approve the budget amendment.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
C is a public hearing. SFR environmental review public hearing for the Webster City wastewater treatment plant improvements. Darren with Snyder and Associates is here to review the project. I'll open the hearing.
Good evening, everyone, mayor, council, and public. This is part of the requirement for use of state revolving fund funding to have a hearing to address public comment, public questions, and also to review where we're at and talk a little bit about the project in general. And so at this point, I'll give you a very short overview of what we've done and where we are and why we're there. As most all of you know very thoroughly, the city needs a new wastewater treatment plant. The old one has definitely been through its life cycle. So during a very lengthy process, the determination and recommendation was made to pursue what's called a sequencing batch reactor plant, which is a newer technology than what you have currently. And there's a few reasons that that technology was pursued. One was cost effectiveness. We feel that we can provide the most effective plant at the most cost effective rate with the best treatment process at that rate with an SBR plant. There are many, many streets to go down to get to your final destination, but that's really the reason. The process is much simpler in the overall process, and it's also very expandable. And that was a key. It's easy if someone walked in tomorrow and they said, hey, we need to get a bunch more capacity. Maybe they would need 30%. It's easy to add more tanks. And we can readily do that. And we can do it very cost effectively. Are there any questions on process? I can probably bore you all night, but I don't think you all want that. So part of the process here, since this will be funded by the state revolving loan fund, is to have a hearing, at which point the public can register comments or questions. With that, Ms. Mayor, would you please open the hearing for any comments that we have?
Any written objections?
Yes. City staff received on June 13th at 5:06 p.m. 3 questions from B.D. Bishop, resident of 103 Edgewood Drive. The 3 are the following. What specific engineering safeguards are being integrated into the SBR tanks to guarantee odor mitigation? 2, rebuilding directly to the old property boundaries means the city has to navigate strict state proximity rules. I'm asking for the maximum public transparency regarding any separation distance waivers or exemptions that have been submitted to or approved by the Iowa DNR. 3, what redundancy is being built into the wastewater treatment plant expansion project to ensure that a failure doesn't immediately back up or impact the adjacent neighborhood? Those are the written questions we received.
If it's good with everyone, I'll try to address each one of them with a brief answer. And if you have more questions, we can get into it deeper. Amanda, would you be so kind as to a couple of the
where would you like me to set them up?
you can bring them just up here. We'll just kind of hang on to them. Okay, it's the treatment plant. So maybe you can, so part of the question, and John, by all means, if I get out of order here, one of the primary questions was separation distance to residents. And maybe the council can see that well. Okay, so that's a very important part. So the Iowa DNR requires 1,000 feet from an occupied residence, 90% of the current distance, or you have to get a specialized easement. In this case, we have got a design where we actually do not have to have any easements, specialized easements. And in fact, the homes that were previously the closest are up here on Edgewood Drive. Those homes, we are actually moving away from those. So their separation distances are actually going to get greater than what they were previously. So that's a good thing. We don't actually need an easement on this plant because of the way it's arranged. So that's a good thing. So generally, the people in the area will actually notice the plant will be moved away from their homes. So did that answer question one?
That was about the odor.
Oh, yeah. One of the questions was odor.
Here are the questions. Can you?
So the treatment process that's out there today is what's called a trickling filter or fixed film process. And fixed film, in a nutshell, sorry to be gross and nasty, but part of the way this works in this trickling filter over here, and in this process called RBC, bacteria grow on the surface of rocks or on the surface of a plastic medium. And as the bacteria eat, they, sorry, I'm a diabetic, and of course this thing has to go up right in the middle of this. Anyway, as the bacteria eat, they grow, and they grow more and more on the rocks, and the water is run by the rocks, and the bacteria are what actually treats the water. So in that condition, we have a possibility of having bacteria that are aerobic, which don't have a lot of smell, anoxic, which smell more, and anaerobic, which smell a lot more. And if you go out to the plant, I think everybody go, yeah, I can see that. The new process is highly aerobic. We don't allow it to go into an anaerobic state for the most part. And therefore, you naturally don't get the odor that you do with an anoxic or an anaerobic process. The other piece that we're working hard to do is the digesters that are right here. The current digesters are anaerobic digesters. The beauty of anaerobic digesters, they're efficient, they work well, but they smell terrible. And they produce a lot of hydrogen sulfide. And hydrogen sulfide, humans can detect it much less than 1 part per million in a room. So really, really low numbers. The other thing with the anaerobic digesters, they produce sulfur compounds, which not only can we smell, but they become sulfuric acid. So I'm sure the council has all heard about having to replace air conditioners about every 2 years. The sulfuric acid eats up the metal on the digesters. It eats up the concrete. It eats up the equipment. We're planning to change those to an aerobic process there as well. So there's naturally a lot less odor. Now, I'm going to tell you that we're doing everything we can to reduce odor, but this is still wastewater. But I think you will know when you get a chance with the new facility that you'll note a significant improvement. The new process, imagine, smells about like potting soil. If you bought a new bag of Miracle Grow and you open it up and you smell it, that's about what that process smells like. So I think you're going to find that it's much less objectionable than previously. Did that cover that? You have a question?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, let's see.
They have a question.
Oh, yes, please.
Is it possible for people using a certain detergent in their laundry and that water being discharged into their yard or their plants called gray water? Is that effective to
It is
cut
possible.
back on using basically your drinking water?
Sure. It absolutely is possible, and it's done in a lot of places. It's pretty uncommon in the state of Iowa because we don't suffer from the water shortages like people in Arizona do.
It's true.
But yeah, very possible.
Would it be correct to say that the new plant will shift to the east of the present facilities?
Yeah, generally.
About how far do you think it might move?
Let's see, that's about, depends on where you measure, 150 feet. Mostly the old treatment plant, which was started in 1939. And there's still some parts out there from the 1930s. And most of that plant becomes obsolete. And quite honestly, it has lived its usefulness.
So like when you do your waste, when you go do the same thing, like put it on the land, like they do in the fall now?
Good question. That would be what we would call biosolids.
Right.
And that will still happen.
I'll still have that.
And the good thing is the biosolids will be a whole lot cleaner. And it is valuable. Back to the gray water, it actually has nutrients in it. So if you find somebody that likes to grow hay, that's actually valuable fertilizer. The problem is right now, the treatment plant doesn't have screening. So anything that went down the sink or the toilet that doesn't rot in the sewer, it shows up. If it's a piece of plastic, it shows up, and it ultimately ends up in those digesters, which ultimately will end up on a cornfield or a hayfield. In the future, we are planning on a 6 millimeter screen and a much more effective system to reduce that, so you don't have that kind of debris. And I'm hoping that that maybe makes the material more attractive to people.
I have a hay grow. I would be interested.
All right, well, let's get together. Absolutely. Absolutely. We'd love for you to have it, and we can make it a lot cleaner and a lot better. The next question, third question was, what redundancy is being built into the wastewater treatment plant expansion project to ensure that a failure doesn't immediately back up the adjacent neighborhood? Very good question. Water comes into this plant right down here at what's called the headworks. Yeah, please. Down at the headworks, that's the main trunk sewer that comes in from the town. And the things that we're changing in that headworks today, we're not going to change the sewer, we're not going to change the elevation, but we are going to add a whole lot of instrumentation that does not exist out there today. So that when a piece of equipment fails, and I say when, not if, because it will, it puts an alarm out and lets people know. The sewer also has a fair amount of the ability to take water before it causes problems upstream. In previous times, there has been a pump failure, and the water in the basement of that building got somewhere north of 6, maybe 8 feet deep, and it didn't cause a problem upstream. But it does damage equipment, and we don't want that. So in the future, you have brand new pumps, you have much more instrumentation, and the grade didn't change. So that way the operators know exactly what's going on all the time at the plant. Did that hopefully answer the questions on that one? Do we have any oral questions?
I think you said no redundancy is required. Effectively.
Well, we have redundancy built in. For example, I'm glad you asked the question. There's 4 big pumps that actually move the wastewater from the headworks up here to the primary treatment process. And of that, most days, 1 pump is all we really need. The problem is on days when it rains 7 inches, we need 3 of them. And that leaves us with 1 spare. So that is the redundancy for the system. In addition to all the alarms and things like that that don't exist out there today. Everybody bored thoroughly? It's not at all. I'm happy to sit and talk about this all day if everybody wants to, but I don't think everybody wants to stay here all night to do that. Hearing no further oral arguments, Ms. Mayor, I believe you can close the hearing.
Okay, I'll close the hearing. Resolution approval by the city council and authorizing the city manager to sign the environmental information document application for the state revolving fund for the Webster City wastewater treatment improvements project and to submit to the Iowa Department of Natural Resources.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
D is a resolution charging off.
1 second, Megan. The record will show that we answered those questions for
Yeah, so show is written.
yeah, just want to make sure that
Yeah.
we
The questions won't be printed in there, but
I just wanted, John, maybe we can respond to her and just say they were addressed.
Sure.
At our council meeting.
We can also work to include them in the minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Resolution charging off from the active accounts receivable, delinquent, final utility bills and department charges.
So this is just an annual request to write off accounts that we have not collected on that are 6 months old or older. As it appears that they probably are not going to be, or it'll be a reduced amount. So we just want to make sure that our financials are accurate and that we're not saying that we're going to collect money that we are not. So it's pretty much, it's just an accounting procedure. We can still collect. It doesn't mean that we cannot collect on those. We're just saying that likelihood is not good.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's a resolution authorizing the city manager to use an additional $250,000 for PCC pavement patching by TK Concrete.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So, John and I discussed this, several weeks back. We had a couple projects that we just closed out. That we had some money in the budget. And so, with that, we discussed different options of what we could do to maximize, improving our PCI report. And so we discussed, HMA asphalt. I reached out to our contractor that we've used in the last several years. With asphalt, if you don't get on the schedule relatively early, you don't get on at all. And so I begged and pleaded, and they said, I'm sorry, we'd love to come, but we're totally booked up. We looked at some other opportunities, maybe saving, let it roll over. But also we're looking at what we've got accomplished this year with the concrete. Super duper happy with what we've got accomplished. We spent a lot of time and money the last couple of years on asphalt. So it's nice to see some of these concrete streets get rehabbed and areas that need to get improved. And so with that being said, we'd love to spend an additional $250 with TK Concrete. They have they stated they would use the same dollar amount that they have given for the original contract. The only thing that would be different, obviously, there'd be a little bit more money in signage, road overhead signs and stuff like that. But when looking at, maybe you wonder where are you going to go? We're basing a lot of this off our PCI, the pavement condition index. Maple Avenue, a lot of these are poor and very poor areas. Maple Avenue has some very, very poor roads. Out on Oakwood, the end of Edgewood area has some bad areas. Collins was really bad. I know we did some areas there. North Terrace has a few more spots, but we're just trying to hit all those areas and give them all the attention they need before we get back to some more asphalt and reconstructs in the future.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
F is an agenda statement, the first reading of an ordinance amending chapter 10 of the Code of Ordinances to readopt the 2021 edition of the International Residential Code with localized modifications.
So this item's coming before you guys because we are trying to make sure that our building code reflects modern and up-to-date safety guidelines. This really is readopting what we have, except for it does have a few modifications. Which one is we delete the standard IRC trade chapter, so like plumbing, electrical, and adopt our current existing codes, rather than referring to the IRC trades. And then it also preserves our existing local safety standards for pool fencing, bedroom egress, and residential fire sprinkler exemptions. So for that, we keep our bedroom safety definition, so applicants cannot use blueprint labels like den or office for a bedroom and forego the egress requirements of a bedroom. We also continue to require the protective safety fencing for any pool or hot tub deeper than 24 inches. And then preserve our residential fire sprinkler exemption for single family homes under 8,000 square feet. But also we are looking to, the primary update is that we're looking to increase the maximum size allowed for a detached garage that's built on a floating concrete subfloor or slab. Currently our code waives the requirement for 42-inch frost footings only for detached garages measuring 720 square feet or less. With this amendment, it would bump that maximum threshold up to 900 square feet. This is being seen throughout the state of Iowa as a standard, and it does save local residents quite a bit of money by allowing it to go up to the 900 square foot. It still does have to be engineered and meet minimum thickness of 4 inches. But tonight I'm just seeking approval of the first reading, and this did go to planning and zoning on June 8th and received their recommendation for approval as well.
So, stupid question. If I'm actually building a den.
Yeah.
It can't be referred to as a den, or it needs to be inspected as a den or an home office, or?
It would need to be inspected as that, and it just through the permitting process, we ask the questions is,
Right.
you know, what is the use of this room? And we don't see it a lot, but we have seen it try to skate through as a den when it's truly going to be used as a bedroom, and that was the intention all along.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
G is the setting of a public hearing to amend chapter 50 of the Code of Ordinances for July 6th at 6:05 p.m.
So this proposed amendment is also a part of an ongoing effort to integrate modern land use standards. Tonight, it's just a request to set the public hearing because that's the first step before council can actually conduct the official readings. What this proposed amendment does is it adds text clarifying that shipping containers, iOS containers, or portable metal units do not count as an accessory building, and that their metal sides cannot be defined as standard building walls. It also proposes an amendment of a new code section which governs where they can be placed, which would be within commercial or industrial zones, and prohibiting them from a permanent principal use or human occupancy, and also prohibiting them within a residentially zoned district. So tonight, I'm just asking to set the public hearing for July 6th at 6:05 p.m.
Motion to set the public hearing for July 6th.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Closed session, meet in closed session to discuss the purchase of a sale of particular real estate only where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price the governmental body would have to pay for that property or reduce the price the governmental body would receive for that property as provided by chapter 21.5J of the Code of Iowa.
Motion to go into closed session.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.